In a surprising turn of events that has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, celebrated actress Gadot has broken her silence on the commercial failure of Disney's live-action film, Snow White. The movie, which was one of the year's most anticipated releases, failed to resonate with audiences and ultimately underperformed at the box office. While many in Hollywood were quick to point to the film's plot or a lukewarm critical reception as the reasons for its disappointing performance, Gadot has offered a far more personal and politically charged explanation. In a recent interview, she pointed to a specific statement made by her co-star, Rachel Zegler, as the primary reason for the film's commercial downfall, drawing a direct line from her co-star's remarks to the conflict between Israel and Palestine. This is a story that goes beyond a typical Hollywood narrative of box office wins and losses. It's a powerful and deeply personal account of how real-world geopolitical conflicts have infiltrated the entertainment industry, leaving film projects vulnerable to the whims of a highly polarized global audience. Gadot, who played the role of the evil queen, did not hold back in her assessment, calling out Zegler's comments and expressing her profound disappointment that their collaborative project became a casualty of a far greater international conflict. For Disney, the live-action remake of Snow White was meant to be another jewel in the crown of its multi-billion-dollar strategy. Following a string of massive successes, including The Lion King and Aladdin, the studio had high expectations for its retelling of the classic fairy tale. The production was lavish, the casting was widely discussed, and the marketing machine worked overtime to build anticipation. But as the film's release date came and went, it became clear that something was amiss. The initial box office numbers were soft, and the weeks that followed saw a precipitous drop in ticket sales. The commercial performance was a far cry from the studio's projections, and the film ultimately failed to break even on its significant production and marketing budget of around $270 million, grossing just over $205 million worldwide. In the aftermath of the commercial setback, the usual post-mortem analysis began. Film critics pointed to the controversial changes to the classic story, including a new, modern take on the traditional plot that some audiences found unappealing. Others suggested that the market for live-action remakes was becoming saturated, and that audiences were no longer as enthusiastic about seeing classic animated films retold on the big screen. However, these explanations, while plausible, failed to fully account for the scale of the film's underperformance. It was a failure that seemed to defy the usual logic of the movie business, and for months, the search for a definitive answer continued. Now, Gal Gadot has provided a new and unexpected perspective. Her comments shift the conversation from the merits of the film itself to the political context in which it was released. She didn't speak about the film's plot or the quality of the acting. Instead, she pointed directly to an external factor, a series of events that began with the brutal attacks in Israel on October 7, 2023, and the subsequent war in Gaza. According to Gadot, it was this global event and a reaction to it that ultimately sealed the film's fate. In her recent interview, Gal Gadot was refreshingly candid. She began by expressing her genuine affection for the project and her collaboration with Rachel Zegler. First of all, I have to say that I really enjoyed filming this movie. I even enjoyed working with Rachel Zegler. We laughed, we talked, and it was fun. I was sure that this movie was going to be a huge success, Gadot said. This statement sets a poignant tone, highlighting the personal friendship and professional respect that existed between the two stars before the controversy. It paints a picture of two colleagues who were excited about their work, only to see it become entangled in a global crisis. Gadot then went on to explain the specific chain of events that, in her view, led to the film's failure. And then October 7 happened. And what's happening in all kinds of industries, and also in Hollywood, is that there's a lot of pressure on celebrities to speak out against Israel. This is a crucial point in her statement. Gadot is not just pointing to the conflict itself, but to the specific pressure campaign that she believes has been waged against celebrities in the wake of the war. She contends that a pro-Palestinian sentiment has swept through parts of the entertainment industry, leaving many artists feeling compelled to speak out against Israel, often without full context or understanding. According to Gadot, Rachel Zegler became one of the high-profile figures who succumbed to this pressure. While Zegler's comments were never an explicit condemnation of Israel, they were widely interpreted as such by fans on both sides of the conflict. In a widely publicized interview, Zegler was asked about the ongoing war in Gaza, Her statement, while appearing to be a plea for peace and humanitarian relief, was seen by some as taking a side against Israel. She reportedly said that it was a tragedy that innocent civilians, particularly children, were suffering and that a ceasefire was desperately needed to stop the violence. She added that she stood in solidarity with all victims of the conflict and hoped for a peaceful resolution. For many, these words were a simple and humane expression of sympathy. But in a charged political climate, where every word is scrutinized and weaponized, her comments were seized upon by pro-Israel critics as a sign of her political alignment. The reaction was immediate and intense. Zegler's social media pages were flooded with angry comments and accusations. She was labeled as a supporter of Hamas by some and as a coward by others. The public discourse became toxic, and the controversy surrounding her comments began to overshadow the marketing campaign for Snow White. A powerful social media movement, with a unified hashtag, called for a boycott of the film, arguing that audiences should not support a movie that featured an actress who was perceived to be taking a stand against Israel. This was the moment Gadot believes that the film's fate was sealed. The controversy created an environment of political tension around the movie, keeping fans away from theaters and causing a ripple effect that ultimately tanked its commercial performance. Gal Gadot's perspective on the matter is informed by her own deep and personal connection to the state of Israel. Before she became a Hollywood superstar, she served for 2 years as a combat fitness instructor in the Israel Defense Forces. This post, which was shared with her tens of millions of followers, with a powerful and emotional plea that resonated deeply with those who share her perspective. Gadot's comments about Rachel Zegler and the box office failure of personal experience and her firm political beliefs. She believes that Zegler's comments were not just an unfortunate misstep, but a direct consequence of the political pressure that she herself has been immune to. Gadot argues that while she can always explain and try to give people in the world context about what's happening and what the reality is here, in the end, people decide for themselves. Her service and her lifelong ties to the country have made her one of the most vocal and unwavering pro-Israel voices in Hollywood. Her political stance is clear and unapologetic, and she has consistently used her platform to speak out in defense of her homeland. In the days following the October 7th, Gadot took to social media to share her heartbreak and outrage. In a widely shared post, she wrote, "At least 250 Israelis have been murdered and dozens of women, children, and elders held as hostages in Gaza by Palestinian military group Hamas. Starting early morning, more than 3,000 rockets were fired." She continued, "Hamas is holding hostages, controlling bases and settlements in Israel. There have been more than 1,500 injured and heavy fighting is still ongoing. I hear their voices and they are banging on the door. I am with my 2 little children. My heart is aching, praying for all of those in pain."